is what I get for mispronouncing her name. Just watch.
As we know, the law had exceptions for rape, incest, and the life of the mother. And every ectopic pregnancy is unviable. In my case, I was 5 weeks pregnant, there was no heartbeat, and no ectopic pregnancy is viable. And that's so important because the mother needs care immediately. But unfortunately, women's healthcare has been subject to the worst politic fear mongering that you can experience. And so they had actually been receiving, these healthcare providers had been receiving pro abortion lobby ads to the tune of millions of dollars being spent on these ads that were threatening and scaring doctors away from helping women, saying that they could lose their license, they could go to jail. In fact, in the room, I had nurses and doctors showing me these advertisements saying that they felt uncomfortable because they didn't want to go to jail. They wanted to help me, but they couldn't, they felt like they couldn't do anything. So I literally was laying on the table reading them the law. And it dawned on me as I was sitting there with my husband, this is what women are experiencing because of the fear mongering around women's healthcare. And it has to stop. The left absolutely played a role in making sure that doctors and women were scared to seek out the help that they needed. And so I think that this is a wake-up call. My story should really bring forward the national conversation that's long overdue about the lack of maternal health care. And really, I think it's important that we highlight that doctors aren't to blame, women aren't to blame. We need to get the politics out of women's healthcare.
So much to say about this woman. So much to say. So much to say. I do have to say, one, she is indeed a big proponent of having these abortion laws in Florida State. We're just going to focus on Florida State here because, as you will hear from me and many others, these abortion laws are indeed confusing and threatening. Confusing and threatening, not because of the Democrats. It's because of you and DeSantis and all of you pro-life folks who wanted this to happen. It's weird that she just kind of throws it on Democrats. Fear-mongering, even though I'm going to show you some information here. I do want to be fair. If she did have an ectopic pregnancy, apparently that's technically not an abortion from what I understand. But again, it's the landscape of which she helped build that caused this confusion, not the Democrats' fear-mongering. That was all here.
It seems there might be a slight confusion in your question. There are two prominent cats that come to mind in relation to comics, and a very recent news story involving a cat and Florida's abortion laws. I'll address both possibilities. 1. Cat Cammack and Florida abortion laws. This is likely what you're referring to, given the recent news. Cat Cammack is a Republican congresswoman representing Florida's 3rd District, not a comic artist. She has been in the news recently because she experienced a life-threatening ectopic pregnancy in May 2024. Despite being a staunch anti-abortion advocate and co-chair of the House Pro-Life Caucus, Cammack stated that hospital staff hesitated to treat her ectopic pregnancy due to fear of violating Florida's strict 6-week abortion ban, which had just gone into effect. She needed a dose of methotrexate, a medication used to end ectopic pregnancies. Cammack has publicly stated that she does not blame the law itself for her delayed treatment, but rather attributes it to fear-mongering by abortion rights advocates, which she claims caused confusion among medical professionals. However, many abortion rights advocates and legal experts argue that the ambiguity and restrictiveness of Florida's abortion laws are precisely what create this fear and confusion for healthcare providers, potentially endangering patients. Florida's current abortion law bans abortions after 6 weeks of pregnancy, with very limited exceptions. While officials have clarified that terminating an ectopic pregnancy is generally not considered an abortion under the law, the initial hesitation Cammack faced highlights the real-world impact of such restrictive and sometimes unclear legislation on medical care. 2. Cat as a comic artist. If you were thinking of a comic artist named Cat, there are a few possibilities. Cat Fajardo, an American cartoonist and author known for her book, cover illustrations and comics that focus on Latino culture and self-acceptance. Her debut graphic novel, Miss Quinces, was simultaneously published in English and Spanish. Crazy Cat. This is a famous American newspaper comic strip created by George Herriman, which ran from 1913 to 1944. It's known for its surrealism and unique language, and is considered a highly influential work in comic history. Given the context of Florida abortion laws, it's highly probable you're referring to Congresswoman Kat Cammack and her recent experience.
Thank you. Now, here's where I agree with her and disagree with her. She talks about taking the politics out of women's health care. Yes. It's funny how it takes a situation for something to happen to you for you to kind of realize that. So take that nugget there. Cool. But then she blames it on the left, saying that they're fear mongering, even though Florida put in these laws and they're pretty strict and again, confusing. So we're going to read it from the top. Florida has strict abortion laws and violating them carries severe penalties primarily for medical professionals or anyone willfully performs or actively participates in a termination of pregnancy outside of legal parameters. As of May 1st, 2024, Florida's law generally prohibits abortions after 6 weeks of gestation, calculated from the first day of the woman's last menstrual period, with very limited exceptions. Here's a breakdown of the punishments. Excuse me. Third degree felony. Performing or actively participating in an abortion after the 6-week limit without meeting legal exceptions is a third degree felony. This is punishable by up to 5 years in prison, fines up to $5,000, loss of medical licenses for healthcare providers. Second degree felony. If an illegal abortion results in the unaliving of a pregnant woman, the charge escalates to second degree felony, which carries up to 15 years in prison, fines up to $10,000. Other penalties for providers: professional disciplinary actions from the Florida Medical Board, including license suspension or revocation. Administrative fines up to $10,000 per violation. Civil liabilities and malpractice claims. Important note: while the laws primarily target those who perform or participate in illegal abortions, the legal landscape is complex and can be confusing. So my question to her is, why blame the left for that? That's in the laws right there. It's, if I was a doctor, I don't know if I'd want to do anything even remotely like that either. That's what those laws are built in for, is to make people scared to do such things. You were part of that. You shouldn't have made that landscape happen, or you should have made the laws a bit more clear there, right? You should have had DeSantis be a bit more clear in his language for the doctors to understand, so they wouldn't fear such punishment. I feel like the reason why she threw the left in there was just to kind of deflect responsibility a little bit. You see, notice too, I will give her credit for this too. She does say the left played a part in this, which I thought was very fascinating. She said that is as if she low key was admitting and realizing that this is indeed due to the laws put in place that she was indeed a proponent for. I need to pronounce that word better. Proponent. So she knows there's some fault on her and the people who put that law into effect, right? That's why she said played a part in it. I will give her credit for that. But do I agree that they actually played a part in it? The short answer is this wouldn't even been a concept if there weren't so many people against women's rights to their body and what they decide to do with it. As she said, taking the politics out of women's health care. If that wasn't even involved in the first place, she wouldn't have had an issue. That's the core of it. All of the fear mongering has been from such people who have been pro-life, who are mad at people who are pro-choice, for simply just saying, hey, women, you get to decide what to do with your body, and you don't need to get penalized for it. And neither do the doctors who help you with the procedure. It wouldn't have been no thing if that wasn't in place. There's so much confusion out here right now. There's so much confusion, and don't get me wrong, I do understand that people do get up in fire and information gets confused and whatnot, and that happens all around, left, right. I really don't like the political party mentality anymore. I don't like left and right. I don't like Democrat and Republican rhetoric. These are just, I'm just talking about women's rights to an abortion and how much less complicated it would have been for her if that law hadn't been in place. Interesting topic. Let me know what you think. And yeah, have a good day.